Nippon Hoso Podcast Station.
Today we're continuing with 葬送のフリーレン or Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Today's phrase is なんのつもり？うなされていたから、風邪の時は心細いからね。幼い頃亡くなった母はこうしてよく手を握ってくれた。不思議と落ち着くんだ。子供の頃の話でしょう。心の支えが必要なのは子供だけじゃない。悪い気分ではないだろう。そうだね。悪くないかも。So in English, what do you think you're doing? You were moaning in your sleep. We feel helpless when we're sick. I lost my mother when I was young, but she used to hold my hand like this. It's strangely calming. You mean when you were a child, right? It's not just children who need emotional support. It doesn't bother you, does it? You're right. I guess it's not so bad. ツボ。ツボってなんか結構アジア特有ですよね。薬なしで治そうとしますよね。はい。I always tell to my 後輩 or the younger members is I tell them to not look at me. Because I am not a very good example. 本当に私の背中を見るなと私はよく後輩たちに言いますね。Anime English Club with Sal Yamaki. Hello and welcome to episode 43 of the Anime English Club. I'm your host, Sal Yamaki. 今週もよろしくお願いします。Then we've got mail. メールが届いていますので読みたいと思います。ラジオネームゆうゆうさんからいただきました。ありがとうございます。Thank you. Hi. 疑問に思っていることがあります。なんだろう。時折サリーちゃんが話の流れを変えるときにまあいいやと言っているように聞こえるのですが、あれは空耳で英語では何と言っているのでしょうか？それともあれは英語ではなく無意識に日本語でそのまままあいいやと言っているのでしょうか？気になります。これでも日本語でまあいいやって言ってる可能性もあるんですよ。諦め癖があるので。これ話通じないやと思った瞬間、まあいいやとか、それで言うと、まあいいや、英語では anyway とか言うんですけど、これ、聞く話によると、私は気づいていなかったんですけど、私の口癖で、言葉の間にいやって言ってるらしいんですよ。いやとか、まあ、なやとか。確かに言われてみれば言うんですけど、特に何の意味もなくて、うんとか、まあみたいな感じで多分、filler words、つなぎ言葉、で入れてると思うんですけど、それが、やがまあいいやに聞こえてるのかもしれません。でもこれは私は気づいていなかったので、だいぶ面白いですね。やっぱ、英語が日本語に聞こえる時もあるんですね。や、まあいいや。どっちも言ってると思います。いやもまあいいやも全然。でも、まあいいやよりかは anyway って、英詞では使ってることはあると思うので、多分、いやだと思います。ちょっと今週も注目して聞いてみてください。いろんな私、つなぎ言葉、filler words 使ったりするので、やとか。ただ、自分で気をつけてるのは、like はあんまり使わないようにしています。like を使うと、これは諸説というか、人の印象的になんですけど、like をあまり使うと、ちょっとだけおバカ寄りなのかなとか、天然さんなのかなとか思われがちなので、皆さんも言葉に詰まった時に、like, like とか like をあまり使うよりかは、もう本当に、とか、もうそれだけでいいと思います。その方がちょっとだけ頭よく聞こえます。私はもう活動初期の頃、like を使いすぎて、本当にこの子ちょっとバカなのかもみたいに言われていたので、強制しました。I adjusted so that I don't say like that much. Yeah. Because when somebody says like, the moment you notice it, like you can't unhear it. はい。使う人、本当に使うのでね、あんま使わないようにしてくださいね。ということで、let's dive into today's episode. Today, we're continuing with 葬送のフリーレン or Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Frieren Beyond Journey's End is a manga series written by Kanehito Yamada and illustrated by Tsukasa Abe. It's a hugely popular fantasy serialized in Weekly Shonen Sunday and has won numerous awards including the Manga Taisho. the second season of the TV anime is currently airing. The story begins after the hero's party defeats the Demon King. Frieren, a long-lived elven mage, deeply regrets not trying to get to know her former companion, Himmel, after his death. She embarks on a new journey to get to know people and to retrace the footsteps of her late friend. So in our last episode, we looked at Frieren's line from episode 1 and talked about expressions of regret. And I guess we talked about the demons and how I relate to them more than Frieren and the humans as well. So yeah, I watched all of season 1 in one day. It was a lot. Like so many people come and go, die. So many people die so easily. That was pretty surprising. Like all of these characters, usually when I look at these series, this is not a very good way of looking at anime, but whenever I see a character and I see their voice actor and they're voiced by somebody who's super famous, I'll be like, okay, so this character is not going to die so easily because they're voiced by this person. Such a terrible way to watch anime, but that's how I watch anime. But in Frieren, everybody dies. Like, not everybody, but people easily die because, like, I mean, Frieren's super strong. All these, like, voice actors come and go in one episode, and I'm like, whoa, I didn't know that can happen. So, yeah, it feels pretty new to me. But anyway, let's dive into today's phrase. Today's phrase is, 何のつもり?うなされていたから。風邪の時は心細いからね。幼い頃亡くなった母はこうしてよく手を握ってくれた。不思議と落ち着くんだ。子供の頃の話でしょ。心の支えが必要なのは子供だけじゃない。悪い気分ではないだろう。そうだね。悪くないかも。So in English, what do you think you're doing? You were moaning in your sleep. We feel helpless when we're sick. I lost my mother when I was young, but she used to hold my hand like this. It's strangely calming. You mean when you were a child, right? It's not just children who need emotional support. It doesn't bother you, does it? You're right. I guess it's not so bad. So this line is from episode 17. During this journey, Fern, catches a cold and Frieren takes care of her. At that moment, Frieren recalls a memory from her time traveling with Himmel and the hero's party. This was a very heartwarming scene. Frieren doesn't show much emotions throughout the series, but she shows the love that she was taught from Himmel. I don't know, this scene kind of made me sad a little bit as well. One, because Himmel is dead, and two, because when I get sick, my mom would also hold my hand as well. I mean, I wouldn't say she holds it. She massages my hand. Apparently, there is this tsubo right here. How do I say tsubo in English? もうツボって言葉ないですよね、英語に。ツボ, like this area. There's this area in your hand, apparently, when you massage it or push it, you forget that you have a fever. So whenever you have a headache or anything, or when you're in pain, my mom would squeeze my palms so that I would forget that I have pain. Apparently, it's a thing in Japan. But whenever I do it to my members from my idol group, they look at me weird, like it's not a thing in Japan. But I was taught that it is a thing in Japan. So, I don't know.
Pressure point.
Oh, pressure point. I feel I haven't heard of it much. ツボ。ツボってなんか結構アジア特有ですよね。薬なしで治そうとしますよね。はい。Pressure point. Yeah, I feel like it's a very Asian thing to try to fix something with your pressure point. Yeah. Us Americans, me as an American, I just like pop a pill right in and I'm like, ouch. Yep. So, yes. So this phrase or this scene was very heartwarming. ですね. So let's break down some vocabs. まず, what do you think you're doing? 何のつもり? Or 何のつもりって意味なんですけど、it's a little different from what are you doing?What do you think you're doing is not very, but it's different from what are you doing. So what are you doing is more like 何してるのとか like generally like what are you doing in general. But what do you think you're doing is more like you say it when you can't understand the reasoning behind the other person's actions.You know? なんだろう So, in this case, Frieren didn't understand like why Himmel was holding her hand. Like, it's like, what are you doing would imply that she doesn't know that Himmel is holding her hand. However, she does know that he's holding her hand, so she's not asking, what are you doing? Because if she asks, what are you doing? Himmel would just be like, I'm holding your hand.But because she said, what do you think you're doing? Himmel explains the reasoning behind his action ですね。だから、なんでそれをしているの？なんかその行動をなんで取っているのって聞きたいときは、what do you think you're doing? で使います。This phrase, I don't know, I feel like a lot of children who speak English would kind of jump from this phrase because teachers and parents use this phrase a lot when you're trying to when you're sneaking in or you're like sneakily trying to do something, you know, if you're trying to take some snacks, like late night, midnight snacks from the covers or anything, your parents would come from behind and be like, what do you think you're doing? Like, it's a phrase commonly used before you get in trouble. なんか本当、なんか悪さしようとしてるときに、何してるんですかみたいな。何のつもりみたいな感じでお母さんとか先生とかがよく使うフレーズですね。What do you think you're doing? みたいな。そこで何してるんですかみたいな感じの、ニュアンスでよく使います。So what do you think you're doing? 相手が取っている行動の裏にある意味を知りたいときに What do you think you're doing? って、はい、聞きます。Next, helpless. So helpless, another way you can say it is powerless or unable to take care of oneself. It describes that vulnerable feeling when you're sick. なんか無力なとか頼りないみたいな意味なんですけど、in this case, helpless. なんかいろんなシチュエーションによって結構意味が変わってきて、it really, like the meaning,exact meaning kind of changes depending on the scenario. So for instance, if I'm out in battle and let's say I'm out of armor, I'm out of magic, I'm out of everything, I would be helpless. I would be 無力. But in this case, Frieren, Frierenは she's not 無力ではないから in this case you feel helpless なんだろう無力とは違う孤独に近い意味かもしれないです、in this case instead of feeling like powerless or unable to take care of oneself, I feel like in this case it would mean more like you feel kind of lonely, you know? But yeah, you can use it in that case as well. Like I feel kind of helpless because I'm all alone ですね。なので状況によって変わります。もうどうしようもない。もう本当無力どうしようもないと思う時もあればちょっと孤独感感じちゃうかなみたいな時も helpless って言いますね。
元のセリフだと心細い。
そうですね。まあそうですね。だから孤独、心細い。はい。ちょっと寂しいみたいな時も helpless ですね。I feel a bit helpless. はい。です。Next is emotional support. So it means a mental or psychological support. だから心の支えとか精神的なサポートですね。これ、it's not just children who need emotional support. So, I guess you can say, for instance, let's say, I can say this is my emotional support pen. 心の支えの ペンっていうかなんか例えばこのペンでいろんなテストを合格してきたとか、なんかお守りみたいな lucky charm みたいな感じでも使います。This is my emotional support teddy bear 寝るときに必ずいる心の支えのぬいぐるみとかだったら emotional support teddy bear とか心の支えの友達だったら emotional support friend とかの形容詞っていうんですかね。形容詞としても使います。なんかもうワンフレーズとして。This is my emotional support pen, emotional support teddy bear, emotional support so and so ですね。はい。です。だから emotional support, I need emotional support. 緊張するときも、like if you're nervous, you're about to go on stage, you're about to do a presentation, you can be like, guys, I need emotional support. みんななんかちょっと心の支え必要みたいなときに、みんながなんかいい感じのフレーズいっぱい投げかけてくれたり、大丈夫だよとか言ってくれたりする、なんかみんなちょっと助けてみたいなときに、guys, I need emotional support とかもよく使いますね。はい。だから心の支えって意味です。Next is, I guess it's not so bad.So it's a reserved way of saying it's good. Using a negative word makes it a more subtle affirmation. So it's good と言わずに否定語を使っての控えめな肯定ですね。So I guess it's not so bad. I guess もちょっとなんかだからツンデレですね、この場合。まあそんな悪くないと思うよみたいな感じの I guess はまあって感じですね。I guess it's not so bad. だから他に I guess を使えるところは、例えば、Your friends ask you to go to a party that you don't want to go to, but because they're asking you so much or they're just nagging you to go so much, you're like, I guess we can go. まあいいよみたいな。だから I guess は結構まあみたいな感じで、もうまあそれならみたいな I guess みたいな。あんまり乗り気じゃない時に言いますね。はい。I guess、we can go. I guess it's not so bad. あとは I guess it's not so bad.so を入れることによってこの so はあまりみたいな意味ですね。なんか、あまり悪くないかもね、みたいな。I guess it's not bad も言えるんですよ。まあ、悪くないかもね、とも言えるんですけど、I guess it's not so bad. so を入れることによって、まあ、そんな悪くないかもね、とか、まあ、あまり悪くないかもね、のところが so になりますね。はい。だからどっちも使えます。I guess it's not bad とか、I guess it's not so bad. はい。どっちも使えますね。です。Now let's look at the pronunciation. So going back to this week's phrase. 何のつもり？うなされていたから。風邪の時は心細いからね。幼い頃亡くなった母はこうしてよく手を握ってくれた。不思議と落ち着くんだ。子供の頃の話でしょ。心の支えが必要なのは子供だけじゃない。悪い気分ではないだろう。そうだね。悪くないかも。Right.So in English, what do you think you're doing? You were moaning in your sleep. We feel helpless when we're sick. I lost my mother when I was young, but she used to hold my hand like this. It's strangely calming. You mean when you were a child, right? It's not just children who need emotional support. It doesn't bother you, does it? You're right. I guess it's not so bad. One more time. What do you think you're doing?You were moaning in your sleep. We feel helpless when we're sick. I lost my mother when I was young, but she used to hold my hand like this. It's strangely calming. You mean when you were a child, right? It's not just children who need emotional support. It doesn't bother you, does it? You're right. I guess it's not so bad. Hi, so pronunciation. Used to. So...My mother used to hold my hand. Used to. Use が結構 Z にして発音しがちな方が多くて、なんか used. use と単体だと used. Z で発音するんですけど、used to 昔やってくれたみたいな、なんか言葉がつながると Z じゃなくて S の発音になるんですよね。I used to.別にそういうルールはないんですけど、ナチュラルに発音が結構そうなっちゃうみたいな。だから、これは、 不良品じゃない、もともと使われてた、新品じゃないです、中古ですはなんか used って言うんですけど、そういう時は used、なんかもうほんと単体で used の Z の発音なんですけど、センテンスとかなんか文章で使うと used to、S になります。used to。D もサイレントですね。The D is pretty silent in used to. use。感覚的にはなんか、ユースみたいな感じ、若さみたいな感じのユース。youth. kind of sounds like youth. まあだから、カタカナで言うユース。英語でユースを発音すると youth なんですけど、日本人がサッカーのユースとか言うときに、ユースチームとか言うときに言う発音が結構この used の発音かもです。used to ですね。伝わりますかこれ。よかったです。used to. Next, helpless. help. 結構この help の elp が難しいと思うんですけど、help. ちょっと口の中が変になるんですよ。help. なんか、感覚喉前に出してる感じ。It feels like you're kind of putting your throat, forward. It's pretty hard to explain because, no word in Japanese is pronounced like that. There is not a single word in Japanese where you have to put your throat out. だから、ほんとちょっとモノマネしようとしてるとか、そう変な声出そうとしてる時の、こんな感じの、ちっちゃいカエル。Pretend you're trying to voice a, frog. In Japan, whenever people try to voice a frog, they usually use a ケロケロ voice. なんとかだよ、みたいな感じの時に使う喉。どうも、みたいな。help の感じですね。その感じの喉を前に出す感じが help にあります。helpless ですね。and strange が難しいね。strange。ここも結構日本語を発音する方はストレンジになりがちなんですけど、strange ですね。エンジではなく ange。結構、ニコってする感じの口に似てるかもしれないです。kind of, the muscle you're using, use the muscle that you use when you smile. When you fake smile, when you're, not like a real smile, but you know, that fake smile when you're like, みたいな。あんま本気の笑顔じゃないみたいな。はい、みたいな。この気まずスマイルが strange に使うときですね。strangely。目は、だから筋肉を下半分だけ動かすみたいな。目元あんま笑ってないときのが、no more strangely みたいな感じの筋肉の使い方ですね。strangely. So used to.Helpless, strangely です。はい、so that is it for the pronunciation.
アニメイングリッシュクラブ with サリー・アマキ。
Now looking at the cultural context. So in the story, Stark always wanted to be acknowledged and praised by his master, Aizen.However, Aizen was a master of few words who taught by example. This kind of master-apprentice relationship is often said to be unique to Japan, or just in Asian countries. I feel like your teacher or shisho, your master, tends to, I guess, 背中で語る, this phrase, 背中で語る, translates to they speak with their back. So instead of explaining everything to your students, they kind of just like show you how to live through your experience, you know, just like watch and learn. Watch and learn is a phrase in English though. watch and learn 見て学べっていうことなんですけど、結構使われるフレーズです。watch and learn とか結構煽りたい時にも使います。こっちの方が、例えば何かに対して上手かったりする時に、じゃあ自分が バッターだとするじゃないですか、野球の。その時に、なんか下手っぴな人に、まあ見て学びでは私はみたいな感じで、alright, watch and learn みたいな感じで煽りに使う時とかもあるんですけど、まあなので watch and learn っていうフレーズがあるゆえに、あまりまあ背中で語る、っていう文化もちょっとはあるんですけど、日本とかアジア圏より、海外ではそんな、ポピュラーではないですね。
日本的ですよね。
結構、そうですね。なんか多くは語らないが、みたいな。多く語らないの好きですよね。何なんでしょうなんなんですかなんでですか語ってくださいってなりません ?I don't know what it is about all these like Japanese teachers and masters like not telling you anything. They're so silent. And then after they die,you start to realize the significance in their actions. But like, they,
自分で学べってことなんだよね。
でも自分で学べだったら師匠の意味なくないですか学びたいから師匠の元にいんのに、自分で学べ、まあ、でもきっと、なんて言うんですかね。まあ、それで言うと、you know, when I know a lot of like parents,when you're telling your kids at the park, like, oh, don't run so fast, or, you know, they'll say things like that. But then at one point, they'll just kind of give up and be like, you know what, they'll just learn by themselves. だから、もう公園とかでもあんまり走らないで危ないからとか言っても、もう聞かない子供に対して、まあ、一回怪我したらわかるか、みたいな感じの、体験してようやくわかるみたいな感じの精神が強いんですかね。なんか、でも教えてほしいです。でも、I just want to say I had a teacher like this in middle school. My algebra teacher, she taught us nothing. I don't know if she was the type of master that was like, you know, just like learn from the way I live. Maybe she was just like a terrible teacher. She literally taught us nothing. I had to get a tutor after school just to learn something that they should have taught at school. Yeah, so I didn't fail the class, but many other students who did not get a tutor actually had to retake algebra because of that teacher. So yeah, so there are teachers like this in America as well, but I wouldn't say teachers like this because it's not in the same category, but I'm just saying there are teachers who tell you nothing as well. And it's not because they are full of wisdom. It is because they are bad at teaching. So it's kind of hard to differentiate between the two. So yeah, you have to keep your eyes open. But yeah. なんだろう、私はどっちの先生の方が好きかな。よく全部なんか一個一個よちよちあるけど教えてくれる先生か、私を見て学んでみたいな。I don't know. But speaking of a teacher, in my group, in the idol group that I'm in, I'm the senior member because I'm the first generation member. So the staff members would tell me to give the new members words of wisdom or like, you know, show them the ways in this industry. But the thing I always tell to my kohais or the younger members is I tell them to not look at me because I am not a very good example. 本当に私の背中を見るなと私はよく後輩たちに言いますね。Just one is because I don't want them turning out to be like me.I feel like in Frieren and like this like master apprentice kind of relationship, the master kind of wants their apprentice to become like them, you know, become strong like them. But me-wise, talking about me, I don't want anybody becoming like me because this is this is a very hard way of living. なんだろう、本当になんかこういう師匠と弟子の関係性的には、なんか師匠のできること全部学んでほしいみたいな気持ちがあるから背中を見てみたいな感じなんですけど、私は、私の生き方あんま真似されたらみんなが困ると思うから、私の背中を見なくていいよのスタンスなので、本当師匠弟子にもいろんな関係値があると思います。だからこれをなんて言うんですか、逆に見てそうならないように、反面教師ですね。反面教師って英語にあるのかな？ 反面教師 There's this great phrase called 反面教師 in English where you learn from somebody's mistake. だからyou learn from somebody's mistake ですね。反面教師っていうなんかフレーズ自体はないんですけど learn from my mistake or learn from their mistake は結構なんかあの人の失敗から学んでねとかはならないように逆に頑張ってねを結構 learn from their mistake, learn from my mistake って言いますね。反面教師。はい。だから無口な師匠、無口がち、師匠無口がちあるある。師匠あるある。無口。
直訳ちょっと面白いです。
はい。
Teacher by negative example.
Teacher by negative example? Oh my gosh. We should start saying that. That should be a thing in English. Teacher by negative example. That is amazing. 反面教師ですね。We have a lot of those in this world. はい。So that is it for this episode of the Anime English Club. Next episode, we're going to continue exploring 葬送のフリーレン or Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Because season 1 has 28 episodes and season 2 is currently airing, there's so much to talk about. So yes, we need 3 weeks to talk about this. But thank you for listening and I hope you stay tuned next week as well. You can listen to Anime English Club as a podcast and on YouTube where you can follow along with transcripts and subtitles. You can adjust the speed however you want and listen as many times as you need to get comfortable with English. Learning over and over is really the key, or listening over and over is really the key to mastering any language. For Japanese and English subtitles, go to youtube.com/@anime-english-club or search by the title. And the Anime English Club wants to hear from you. Please let us know any anime you'd like us to cover, or for specific lines, please tell us whose line it is and which episode it's from. Or just any general English questions you have, please email us at aec@1242.com. That is aec@1242.com. You can email me in either Japanese or English.
メールは日本語でも英語でも大丈夫です。ということで、今週もお聞きくださりありがとうございました。
Thank you so much for listening and see you next week. Bye! From the Nippon Hoso podcast station, this is the Anime English Club, hosted by me, Sally Amaki. This episode was written by Naoki Nakamura, edited by Naoki Yamazaki, directed by Hiroshi Kochi, all from Waltz Inc. Our executive producer is Shiori Tanaka for Nippon Broadcasting System Japan.